All right. Hello, it's me, Mike, with HPDS, Gilbert with HPDS. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Let me take a look around, make sure everything. Okay. So let's get back to where I was. Once again, I'll be building, I'm working with Algo Droids. And let's see, last time I got stuck, the other night I got stuck here trying to figure out how to, let's see, I think I was trying to create a transaction, maybe. No, I can't remember. I was trying to build an account, create an account on Algorand. Yeah, this is what I was doing. I was having issues because remember, I'm working with TypeScript, and this is just a JavaScript, like for NodeJS, but I'm going to be doing a little bit differently since I'm working with the TypeScript. And I was having issues where the generate account was not being found on my client, and I couldn't quite figure it out. But it was because I didn't get into the TypeScript code, and I stopped before I went into it last time. So this time we're going to go ahead and continue forward and solve my problem from the last video. Hold on one moment. Okay, so let me go ahead and pull up the code. So remember, here's my code. Let's go look through this. We were working on this test.ts file. And so let's see, right here, you'll notice that right here I create, let me go ahead and import this. Let's see, I have 2 lines. Okay, yeah, so let's continue forward. So right here, you'll see that I was trying to create this client. And if we go to this test page, remember, and let me go to this test page behind the scenes. And let's go ahead and show it. If I go to API test, remember we were seeing just this, we're sending this back, obviously. So we know that the back end is actually working. We're just having issues connecting to the Algorand SDK. So we go back to the code. And remember, I was running into this error, this exact error where, let's see, something was going on. Remember, I was running into errors. Generate algod generate account is not a function. Yeah, remember, if you'll see this code right here is already, it's got the red underlining telling me that there's a problem here. And since it is TypeScript, it knows the type of algod v2, and we're importing that up here from the Algo SDK. And I was having issues because I couldn't figure out where this generate account comes from. But let's go ahead and solve that problem. So our issue is that when we are importing this algo v2 and making this client over here, that, I was even trying to, if you remember this, I was trying to do client.generate account, and that still wasn't working. And so we have to find out why it's not being imported, because remember, if we go back to the code over here in the SDK, you'll see that it's, when you require the Algo SDK, this just comes alongside it, this Algo SDK. So the Algo SDK .generate account is probably sitting right next to this generate account is probably sitting right next to the algod v2. So when I imported it like this, I think I imported it kind of incorrectly, honestly. So what we got to do to fix this is we got to read through the TypeScript to see what the types are back there. So let's go, and what we're going to do is we're going to go into Node modules because I've installed it here, and we're going to find what is it? It's Algo SDK. So here it is, Algo SDK. You find it in the Node modules, and you'll see that we've got the dist package, and so we're going to see the types right here, and you'll see the index. Here's the index, and we can also find this on GitHub. Actually, I believe I If you go find it here it is on GitHub. Let me show you this file, which is the index.ts, is also found over here on the JS Algorand SDK. You can find this on GitHub. Here's the GitHub page. This is basically what I downloaded. This is what I installed through the npm package. And you'll see it tells you how to install it. So npm install algo SDK. So this is the JavaScript SDK version for Algorand. And you'll see over here, where is it going to be? The index.ts file. You'll see here's the index.ts, and it's going to be the same exact code. And let's go right here. See, the code is sitting right next to it. And you may not be able to see it. I might have to make it bigger, but you'll see it. It's the exact same code. So this folder over here. Let's do this. Okay. So this folder over here, this dist folder, is basically the GitHub folder that we see over there. But here it is showing me the index. So when I imported from the Algo SDK, you'll see that the default is Algo SDK. So if you see the rest, everything else comes from the star basically is coming from the main. So you'll see that everything is that .source.main. So if we go find that, we'll actually see right here is the .source. Here's the source file, and then we're gonna see in the, what does it say? In the main, right? Source.main. So now we've also got this file. This is another TypeScript file, and this is import, or this is all the exports that's coming out of the SDK. So you'll see there's there's default as Algo VD2. So this is when I imported originally into these files, just trying to get this to work. I'm not gonna lie, I believe I just let VS Code import it automatically for me. I was just trying to I tried using this code over here. This is the code that I needed to connect. And so in order to get this client, you need to connect using the Algo VD2. But I just imported that, I just assumed that imported everything. But in fact, if we go over to the main file, you'll see that everything comes, this comes from the .client, and it's got its own file. So the default, that comes in there. I could get the KMD. So look, it even does have something with the KMD. We've got this, the account, the indexer. We've got a few things that we can actually bring in. And so if we keep reading, we do see though, however, we see, where is it? It should be, here it is. Generate account from the account folder. So this was the remember, if we go to, and now if we go to that folder right there, the .account, or /account, that's this one right here, you'll see that it defaults this generate account function, and it exports that function, generate account. You see, and that comes from types.account. So if we go even further, we can see that here is what it's doing. It's creating this account, and you'll see that the accounts have an address and an SK. So when we start to see SK in the code, we'll start to understand what this is. That's the interface. We've got an interface here. And that interface is called account, and on the accounts have a string. So you'll see over here, these types are going to hold, for example, this was the account. Let's take a look at an address. An address has a public key and a checksum. Let's take a look at what block header might have. Block header has a few things. This is, and it even says right here, I'm going to bring this down. This is kind of big. So right over here, we've got the block header has fees, frac, it's got a gen, it's got what is it, GH, which is the hash of the, what is it, the Genesis hash. I'm not even seeing transactions fee, the number of leftover, Genesis ID, Genesis hash. GH is the Genesis hash to which this block belongs. So all the blocks need to have a Genesis hash. And then we've also got previous, which is the string, the hash of the previous block. We've got the protocol, the rewards rate, the round number, the rewards recalculation round, the rewards pool, the sortition deed, and I don't know what a lot of this is, honestly. And I'm reading this just so that we kind of get an understanding of this SDK, because this SDK is quite important. This is, if we start to understand this, we can start to understand what exactly it is that we can do when we really get into the code. And like I said, I don't really know much of this, so I got to really figure this out. But here's a transaction, a timestamp, and this is the transaction root. So this TXN, I've actually come across this and I did not know what it was. And I'm now finally seeing it because I haven't read this far into the code. So this is the transaction root. Interesting enough. Hold on. Okay, and so then let's keep going though with these types. An index, you'll see imports a transaction, a multi-signature, and an address. So you'll see those are right there. There's transactions. So from transactions, then we've got from multi-sig, and then we've got from address. Obviously, I think we've gone over the address. So that was the index. We've got an int coding. Configure how integers in JSON response will be decoded. So there's a few different ways to show how integers, configure how the integers in JSON. So that's interesting too. And multi-sig, this is apparently required options for creating a multi-signature. So that's going to be interesting because I still haven't worked at all with multi-signature accounts. I don't even really know what they are, but it does seem like it requires multiple people to actually sign off on a transaction. And then we got utilities over here. Look at this. It's got a whole bunch of other stuff. Distributive pick, overwrite. These are distributive overwrite. What are these? These are all types. Some sort of interface out here. Declare, let's see, declare, rename properties. These things I haven't really heard about. So I'm not too interested in this stuff. And so that's those types. We'll get back to where I was. Where was I? In the main. I think I was in the account. Yeah, I took it from right here, generate account to account and so forth. So anyway, suffice it to say, I found this generate account. And so what this tells me is that I did not import these right. So I imported it perfectly fine if I just wanted the Algo VD2, which is its own part of the SDK. If we take a look, remember, this is the part right here. The default, so if you brought in just default, I would have access to this Algo VD2 already. I would have access to this stuff. But I went a little bit, I want everything. I don't just want this. I want to go ahead and import everything. So that's why I think I had earlier done that and I meant to. So I have that saved. So what we're going to do instead, and this is of course TypeScript. Right now is TypeScript. If you know what I'm doing, I'm messing with the TypeScript and I'm importing other TypeScript. So I'm going to import, and instead of importing just the Algo VD2, I'm going to import star, which imports everything. And I'm going to say as Algo. Well, you know what? I don't even think I need to do, look, there's multiple ways I could do this. I could say just from Algo SDK. And no, it does require an as. Let's see. From expected. Let's see. So import all from Algo SDK. So I guess we need to, like I said, let's do as Algo SDK. Let's just do it this way. We're going to import the star as Algo SDK from Algo SDK. So basically I'm importing everything and I'm importing it as this, and I'm going to do it from the Algo SDK. So this is what we're going to do. So what this means now is right here, I've got this wrong. So now you're going to see this as an error. It says it cannot find Algo VD2. However, this time you can see that it actually finds generate account. Even though, it's got, it finds this account obviously easy enough, but this one, it does not. So this Algo VD2, what I actually have to do is I got to change that to Algo SDK dot Algo. Now this works, but now it's going to break this because now it doesn't know, hey, what is this client? And client doesn't have generate account. So we're going to change this client, and all we need is Algo SDK because that's what I imported everything as. So we're going to change this client also because that client is not really is not needed here. That's not the same thing. Though that word client was an error from something else when I was trying it and I was doing it incorrectly. So that's why I'm changing this. But now it works. This is an error, but this is not an error because for normally. This is because it thinks it has an undefined variable when normally it requires a string. But this undefined is because I'm using a process variable. So yeah, it's going to break unless I have this process running. And I have that process. I need to have that .env file, which I'm not going to show you, but there it is right there. I need that .env file to hide some, my API key right here. So this is undefined precisely because this can't be, it can't be, it doesn't know if it's going to be loaded or not. But anyway, I digress. Let's move into it. So suddenly, after all of this, despite this is now error free. I'm actually finding an account. You know what? I'm going to change this though. Before we get started, I've got it on the main net. I'm going to change this to test net. That is something that I should make sure I get going. And that is, of course, the server that I'm using. I'm using PureStake. Go ahead. Once again, PureStake API. You got to go sign up for them to get your API token. But once you do, you can actually create your own apps just like I'm doing right now. But so anyway, now we finally have this working. So let's pull this up. And let's go ahead and put this browser up. And that is GitHub. Let's go back to this. So we've got this API test, right? Let's refresh that. And I'm just going to show that for the sake of showing it. Got no errors on this side, so that's good. Now let's go to the code. And look, all of a sudden, you know what? I better not show that. Because now you'll see... let me see what I could do to cover this up because I've already released some information. I'm not sure, how important this is, but you'll see down here. And you know what? I think I know what I could do. I could do this. Okay, yeah, right there. You'll see that on this code right here, we've got, this is stuff that I've, this is from the old stuff. Here you go. This is where it worked and it compiled. So somewhere down the line, I console logged the client. So this is the client information, what that Algo SD, the client actually looks like. I was looking at that earlier, last time to just see what was going on and when it wasn't working for me. That is even worse information. I don't know what I'm going to do now. Okay, so I can't be showing this because it does come back with some important information. So let's hope that doesn't bite me in the back. I'm gonna trust everybody out there not to do anything, but I don't think it really matters too much anyway. But anyway, here's what's going on is I've accidentally shown keys. So that's another thing. And I've showed my own keys, but I also, I showed the keys of this account. Just suffice it to say that this has worked. Okay. And you could do this. I have actually generated a brand new account. And I shouldn't have done this right here. This is something obviously I took from this particular right here. So what I've done is I just followed this. I copied and pasted it. This is right off of the Algorand SDK. This is just how to connect to create an account. And I really shouldn't have done this, shown the account mnemonic. That was my problem. So, and I really shouldn't have shown something else, but what it did was it created a new account. And and I could even give you an address to that account. So let me find that address. Let's see. I'm going to show it off screen, obviously. So let's go. So I can see this. I've got a whole account address and I've got the account mnemonic, account created, and it says add funds to the account using the testnet dispenser. And that is all part of the code. Yeah, right there. If you look in the code, it says right here, It tells you once you create it, it console logs an account. It console logs the mnemonic, which is the 25 words that you are given when you first create an Algorand account. So if you have an Algorand account, you should know exactly what I'm talking about. You should have these 25 keywords that whenever you want to import your account into a brand new wallet or whatever, you need those 25 words and they will generate the address and they also are the password. It's like having a 25-word password, which is very secure compared to, like, say, for example, most websites, which only require like 8 letters and like 2 symbols or whatever, a symbol and a number and 8 letters and a capital or something like that. Having multiple words is just harder to break than it is to make than it is to do something like that. In fact, I've even, if you know anything about security and hacking and how people brute force passwords, or how people will find hashes of passwords and then just try to find passwords that match that hash and so forth. That's what they're doing, or that's usually what they're doing. That's a a layman's way of saying it. But anyway, having multiple words is often more secure than having tricky devices like that. But anyway, let's continue forward. So I've created an Algorand account. I've created a keyword. And you know what? That right there, I mean, in and of itself is easy enough to do. Now you do need a fund account. And so when you fund an account, I did make it on the test net, mind you. So there is the main net and there is the test net. So that's why I'm not too worried about releasing the keys, because it is just in the test net. But it is, I've made a boo-boo. So security wise, that's how easy it is to how do I say this? Hamper, like that's it. It's that account can potentially be, if somebody were to be nefarious, they could go back to, unless I delete this, which I probably won't, because what's the point? It's, but somebody can take the account and potentially do whatever they want with it. Once you have those 25 words, you can have access to it. And, if you don't want people making transactions for you, you don't want them having your 25-word password. So that's another thing. You can't be storing those 25 words on a database unless it's connected to the Algo, the My Algo wallet. They have special means of doing it, but that means you need to be running your own node, and then somehow you can actually have them connect to the Algo wallet. But that's what when we get back into, let's see, where was it? In the get started, I want to say it was actually in the get details. Maybe it was in the account creation methods, right? So over here, that's the overview. Let's go into the creation methods. Remember the wallet derived, the KMD, which is kind of actually surprising, because now that I think about it, somewhere in my index, I thought I saw that I actually do have some sort of access to the client KMD. I'll have to obviously look through the code, but I do remember seeing it in the TypeScript. So I thought it said I don't have access to it, but we'll see. I'll find out what I have, what I actually have access to when I don't have a node running, and when I do use a third party to do this. So let's see, reasons you might want to use KMD. Okay, so public-private key pairs are generated from a single master derivation key. You only need to remember the single mnemonic that represents the master derivation key. Oh, okay. So what you can do in these wallets, I kind of understand now. So ultimately, you could have a wallet that has multiple Algorand accounts. Okay. So this KMD, this wallet derived, that's the key management daemon. That's what I'm saying, is a process that runs on Algorand nodes. So if you are using a I pressed third-party API. I got ahead of myself. So if you are using a third-party API service, this process likely will not be available to you. So that's what it's saying. Likely it's not even available to me. KMD is the underlying key storage mechanism used with Goal. The SDKs also connect to KMD through a REST endpoint and access token. So the SDK that I have, and once again, let's go back to the code. Let's go back to the code. And so, like I said, the KMD has got to be in here, right? So it should be in the client KMD. And let's take a look at that. Right here's the client KMD. So it clearly has a custom token header, the KMD, and it's got servants client. So let's see, it has some sort of access. List wallets, create wallet, init wallet handle, release wallet handle, renew wallet handle, rename wallet, get wallet, export master derivation key, import key, export key. So I guess right here, import key, or would it be export master derivation key? Let's see. Something's happening. There's a promise being returned. But anyway, I imagine somewhere out here, somewhere in this code or somewhere around here, it might be accessing something else that I don't have access to, but maybe I have access to it. I don't really know. But ultimately what this does, and let's go back to the code. The wallet derived stuff is you could have one wallet that has access to multiple Algorand accounts, and some wallets you could have that actually you could build wallets that actually have multiple cryptocurrencies. So I think there's actually SDKs out there for Bitcoin and all of that. Other SDKs that you can work with, other cryptocurrencies out there, and you can actually somehow combine them. That's what this wallet. What is it? There, let's take a look, and I'm getting Wallet Connect right here. Wallet Connect. Well, maybe this is what I'm thinking of. I'm not sure if maybe this is something different than KMD, but I thought this was the same thing. No, apparently I might be wrong about that too. I don't even know what this Wallet Connect is. The Wallet Connect is maybe what I'm thinking of that you need. What is this? I don't even know. So you see, I'm getting ahead of myself because I don't know what this is, and I thought that this was what I'm talking about. So I don't even know how the KMD works yet. So that's why let's just keep it simple. That's why when we get into this creation method, that's why it says reasons you might not want to use, because it says using the kit requires running a process and storing keys on disk. And if you do not have access to a node or you require a more lightweight solution, standalone accounts may be a better suited option. So that is what I am doing. I am running with the standalone accounts, and with the standalone accounts is just one account with its 25 words. Okay, this KMD and this Wallet Connect sort of stuff allows you to connect multiple accounts, potentially from multiple currencies, and use one of these 25 word accounts, 25 word passwords to have access to all of these accounts. Obviously you have to import every single account separately, but once you've done that, you can use one wallet to have access to multiple accounts. If you are familiar with this, using Algorand and using wallets, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm not very familiar with it, so I'm just explaining it as best as I can tell from the code that I've read. Also, what limited experience I have with a wallet for Algorand, with maybe one account, maybe a second test account that I have in there somewhere. I don't really know, but anyway, so how long have I been? I've been about half an hour. I did solve my problem. We've moved into, I created an account. It worked. What I could do now with that account, and let's go back to the code. Like I said, when I ran this account, suffice it to say, it worked. I created an account. I could right here in this code save this account or send it back to. I could, for example, we could make a function on the website, on the app. You could say I could make an app that calls this endpoint. So just like we have, let's go back to the actual account, and I'm not doing that yet. I'm just we're just going over this and we're figuring things out, obviously. So right here, remember, if we go to gallery, right here is all pulling from Troxel's stuff. If you know who Troxel is, go ahead and take a look at him on Twitter, Troxel. He does Algo Droids. I think there's also Algo Droids, an Algo Droids Twitter page, but go check him out. This is some of his stuff. You'll notice that here's the Algo Droids. Some of these Algo Droids. If you take a look, you'll find these. They're all for sale. Go ahead and, like I said, just take a look at him on Twitter if you get a chance. But this is all pulling from this gallery page. If you remember, let's go back to the code. If you take a look at the gallery, and let's go take a look at gallery. At the gallery, we pulled this information. Okay, gallery, again, remember, is a React component. And so this React component right here, I'm getting these props. This is all from Next. What I'm doing right here is, let's see, where was it? You'll see the fetch. And I fetch right here. I'm fetching from my local host, obviously. But I'm fetching this API endpoint, which is the API algo account. And remember, this was... let's see, account, and this was the address. This was a different one. Remember, I used this as a template to create the test.ts file. So if you remember, this is just another way of, it makes a connection to the Algorand, and then it makes a call for the account information from the address that is provided. So whenever I make a call to this API endpoint with this address attached to it, which you'll see in the gallery. If we go back to the gallery page, where is the gallery page? If we go back to the gallery page, I've got it hard coded here. So you go to this API endpoint with this address, and that's Troxel's address right there, and it will come. This sends back. It sends back the account information. So basically, I just grabbed that account and I sent all the information back. And in the gallery page, over here in the gallery page, I use that information to generate the gallery page, which is, goes through all of his created assets, and then it takes a look at the URL that he has listed on that asset, and then it displays that URL, because I'm assured that on his assets, they are all, he's using images or these GIFs, so I know that when I'm showing that particular URL, I know that it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be a picture instead of something I'm not concerned. I don't know. Okay. But anyway, I digress. So basically, in the same way, we can make an endpoint that actually comes back over here and maybe generates an account for the user. So we can make it to where I can already at this point, make a button that a user presses, they'll generate an account, they'll get a secret key mnemonic, and I can already set up an account. So right there, just off of this information alone, just off of that little bit of testing, we have the knowledge to now go back and make an endpoint that creates this account, and we can send the information right back to the user in the front end, and we can display it in some form. We could even potentially email it to somebody, which may not be a good idea for, I don't really think that's probably the most secure way to do that, to email something, but we could, like I said, we could store it in a database if we wanted to. And that is also something nefarious, or potentially you could do that if you would like to. You could save all this stuff in a database, but that's where I can't remember where it was, but somewhere in the documentation, and I'd have to find that somewhere, but somewhere in the documentation, it does make mention that, let's see, that anybody, well, maybe it wasn't here, but I read it somewhere, that if you have these 25 words on the internet, which would be, if you put them in the database, that would be like having them on the internet. Somebody could potentially come and steal a whole bunch of people's accounts from a database that you own. And that would not be wise, and I don't think that's secure. So that's not what I want to do at all. I don't want to store a database. I don't want to do that. But we could if we wanted to. It's not a good idea, and I'm not going to do it. But that's all stuff that can be done behind the scenes. And that's something that can be done after, like I said, once we have this knowledge of what we've learned, how to just generate an account. And we can see later on, we'll find out about there's a secret key to the mnemonic. And if we go into let's go ahead and just look it up. Secret key to mnemonic. Then we also got the mnemonic to secret key. So that's going to be instrumental later on, because we're also going to, remember our goal, our original goal, if you remember, is to, I'm actually going to make a form that actually asks for your address, and then it's going to ask for the 25 word password, and then we're going to have access to your key. And this right here, that mnemonic to secret key, that's going to be real important, because once I get those 25 words from somebody, that 25 word is that's the mnemonic right there. And we'll take the mnemonic, and what we'll do is we'll do the mnemonic to the secret key so that we can actually have access to that address. And in that way, we can actually sign off on transactions. So that's going to probably be something I might want to look into next, because if we go back to the SDK, let's go back to the SDK. Over here, we're going to go to transactions. No, it wasn't transactions. Let's go back to get everything. All right, so the SDK, JavaScript, your first transaction. So right here, now that we've kind of learned the account, how to make the account, we're going to go ahead, and that's I guess that's where we were, generate the account. So now we've generated an account. We need to fund that account. And you can actually, using that through this, there's a good Algorand dispenser. You kind of put in 10 algo and you put it on the Algorand account. And I'm not going to do that because I did not save the information. I basically made an account, and because of the circumstances, I did not keep track of the 25 keyword, nor did I really keep track of the address. So that's probably an orphaned account. You see what I'm saying? Somebody may one day, take the screen if it's still up, and they might go back and maybe find it if I leaked it. I don't even know if I did, but maybe if I did, who knows? But until then, it's going to be an orphaned account. I'm not going to fund it, but you could, once you've created an account, you can fund it on the test net. Now, this money obviously is not real Algorand. It's on the test net, so you don't really have access to it in unless you're on the test net. But from the main net, you don't have access to this stuff. But you can give yourself 10 algo, and so once you create your account like that, you come back, you fund it, and then you fund the account, and then right here, viewing the transaction, you see right here, connect your client. And this is where that's where I'm talking about, that this is where I learned how to connect my client. And this is where you'll see the information that because earlier I learned how to do this on my own, and you'll see this. This is the main portion of what I had previously used. And let me find, let me find my code. When I previously used right here, this is not even necessary. So I put all this, even though it's not necessary. Yeah, all of this is unnecessary to make my code work, right? Yeah, I think so. I think it is all unnecessary. Let me code it out. Let me block. Yeah, it's all unnecessary. So I had been copying and pasting that from previous, my previous over here. I need that. I think I need that over here when I use when I grab the address, because this I do need I need to go to the main net right here. You'll see that's why it's in the main net. And the main net, I do need that in order to actually, you'll see that right here. The client, I do require that for the account information. So I need to be connected to a client in order to get account information, which seems obvious. Whereas in this video, I worked on the generate account, and apparently you don't need to be connected to generate the account. So that's why I remember when I was importing the Algo VD2, that's where I was getting that problem from, because this is what I had done. This is in the past. The only real work I've had with the SDK was making this connection so that I could look up an address. So that's very interesting. So right here is the next step. This is what is really important for me to build your first transaction. So now it's pretty easy. I've got a basic idea now that I understand I can generate an account. I understand the difference on how to actually what the client is and what you're connecting to and why you might need to connect to the client and when you might not need to. And we learned that, like I said, we learned that simply enough. We could go to the GitHub. Actually, let's just go to the GitHub. You learn that from going through these files in the actual account or in the actual documentation. So remember, I'm looking at the TypeScript version. So you just go to it tells you to go to the main. So the source.main. So we go to source folder. We go to the main folder, main.ts. And then right here is all the stuff, like I said, that you can import. And so you need the client for some things. And if we come down here, I think we found it right here, the client, the Algo VD2. So it tells you where to find the client V2 for version 2, Algo D. So if we wanted to go look for that, we could even do that. What was it? Client V2. And then it was Algo D, right? So Algo D. So look at all the different things that you actually get from this client. And I don't even think I had even seen the client. So here's the Algo D client. And it's got a health check. Oh, here's the constructor. Remember, here's the token that you need, the base server, the port. This is all that stuff that I found or that I was using in the code. But it's beyond that. You can actually do that client.health check, version check, send raw transactions. So you can actually send raw transactions that way. You can look up account information. You could check out, get the block info for the given round. Let's see, pending transaction information. What's pending transaction information? Pending transactions information. So that's interesting. Transaction by address. You could get the status of something, status after block. But this is all from the SDK, which is you can actually find. I think this is the API, get transaction param, supply, compile, dry run, get asset by ID, get application by ID, Genesis, get proof. Yeah, I believe this is the API that they call it. This is the API that we have access to. And I think we found that over here in the REST APIs, right? Yeah, that was the Algo D V2. And yeah, I was just looking at these endpoints. I was just trying to, health. Metrics. So obviously I didn't get them all, but there's a lot of them are right here. It's either the indexer or it was the Algo D2, right? Yeah. But anyway, so that's the code right there, and that was here's the REST API we were just looking up. Yeah, Genesis, health, metrics, accounts, applications, assets, block. See, there's some more right here, ledger. So those were also, like I said, in some other ones that, here's dry run transactions. So, and pending, here's the pending. So anyway, there was the code and here's the API that we're following. So that's what we actually have access to in that client. But we have access to some other stuff on the side. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and stop this video now. I've been having pretty bad connection the whole time. I wonder if I'm let's see. I wonder if I'm having issues. I don't know why I'd be having issues. Everything looks fine on my end. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and call it a night. Next time I get into this, we'll get back into this SDK, JavaScript, your first transaction. Like I said, the transactions are what's important to me. That's really because it's easy enough to make an account. It's easy enough, that account it's easy enough to look up an account, but building these transactions, you have to sign your transaction. So it says right here, before a transaction is considered valid, you got to sign it by a private key, and that private key is that mnemonic, that 25-word mnemonic. So we need to collect that somehow. We also need to remember we can't store it on a database. Well, you don't really want to be showing it. It's supposed to be private, but we can get standalone accounts for our app while we're using this third-party API. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to continue on in next time. with signing a transaction, maybe submitting a transaction. We'll figure out. I'll get a couple of what I'll do is maybe I'll set it up to where I can send one of my accounts some algo from the other account. So maybe I'll do that, but I will next time be getting probably into this stuff if I don't just continue forward with some sort of design, because I need to do that in the dashboard. That is, like I said, what I want to do is there's got to be a form right here where you actually get somebody's address. And then what they'll do is that after we get their address, we'll actually get their 25-word mnemonic. And then instead of storing it on a database, we'll actually store it on the browser in the local storage on the browser. So that is what I'll do next time. I'm going to go ahead and end right now, though. So, all right. Thank you. Have a good night.